Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all participants. So, welcome to the Disciplined Agile Powers Core Organizational Structures of Communities of Practice and Center of Excellence for Organizations to be a Learning and Developmental Organization webinar. Let me introduce myself. I am Sunil Koikul Ramarao. I am a project researcher. Basically, I like to study projects and the behavior and the challenges. I work on ecosystems projects. I do mentor, coach, and train subjects of PMI, basically the PMP, DASM, DASSM is where I do the training. I'm a speaker. I was an entrepreneur earlier. Currently, I'm finished my trainings on DAC, DAVAC, and FOGAP 10, preparing for my examinations, certifications, and 26 years of professional experience and still learning. So love learning, to study and research. So ProThoughts is an organization, and I was introduced to ProThoughts by Ashish Satkar, who actually represents ProThoughts. And they are into a wide range of activities related to project management and consulting. So it's an honor and privilege of Ashish. It's a great honor and privilege to share my insights and experiences with such a diverse and enthusiastic audience. So let us start with the agenda. We'll start with skills and engineering. What are skills? What is competency? What is the type of classification for competency? What is a learning organization? What is the layout of organization? CoPs, CoE, differentiators, how disciplined agile will scale with interactions. We'll have how CoPs and CoEs are aligned with enterprise agility. We'll look at CoPs and CoEs supporting enterprise agility. We look at the DA toolkit as an example, which you can do it for yourself and try it out. And we'll have some question answers for interactive session. Now, see, everything that has been developed around the world, start with some kind of a skill. If it is a potter, somebody has understood the properties of a clay, and he has tried to make clay maybe into a pot or maybe into a tile. He has done some engineering over it, maybe for design, or maybe to get the colors mixed for the diagram, for actually the look and feel of the texture. And you have basically the end product of the engineering coming out, maybe the house, building with, you have all the interiors also made into. So what basically happens is, there is a lot of value addition that has gone in from the study, the skills, what you wanted to study about the inputs that developed your skills, and from the skills how you made into a competency, and how the competency basically led into the development of a solution, which you actually try to implement. So skill is a term that encompasses the knowledge, competencies, and abilities to perform operational tasks. So skills are developed through life and work experiences, and they can also be learned through study, skills can also be measured and level determined by the skill tests. Most jobs require multiple skills. Some skills will be more useful for certain professions than others. Next is about the competency. It is the ability of the individual to apply the related skills, knowledge, and abilities to perform professional duties successfully in a defined work settings. There are different types of competencies. So one is based on functions and other is based on roles. In the functional category, there are three types. One is the core competencies. The core competencies are the abilities and skills that make up an individual competitive advantage. Identifying and developing and capitalizing on your core strengths ensures that you have versatile competency for your field to make yourself more employable. You can enumerate these competencies on your resume to highlight them and when applying for jobs. Analytical capabilities, creative thinking, and problem-solving abilities are some of the examples of the key personal characteristics. Cross-functional competencies. There are several advantages to cross-functional abilities. These skills are often necessary for a variety of occupations in several roles. Examples of these competencies include maybe in budgeting, computer proficiency, and other topics. Functional competencies. Functional competencies are divided into different functional areas of work, but they are exclusive to a field, a division, or a job category. Business may encounter a variety of difficulties in operating and growing due to the changing market requirements. For a firm to succeed, it typically requires a certain set of individuals with specialized skills. Functional competencies are crucial to the success of any business as they often possess significant subject knowledge, technical proficiency, and other pertinent elements required for its efficient operations. Because of this, companies usually prioritize hiring candidates with a set of abilities that is pertinent to the position in the organizational structure and function to ensure they can perform effectively after getting hired. Now let us look at what are the role-based competencies. Organizational competencies. Organizational competencies are the skills necessary for the organization to excel and maintain its position as a market leader. They include a list of anticipated attitudes, abilities, and behaviors that contribute to the organization's effective performance. The skills of the organization's personnel can often determine its overall performance. Organizational competencies are those properties that the employee of the organization may apply to be successful in their respective positions. We have the job competencies. These competencies comprise the skills that, when displayed, lead to the efficient work of task performance. For instance, competencies for a sales job role may require those relevant to the sales function, such as fulfilling weekly goals, convincing clients or customers of the product benefits, and customer offers and items that to suit the client's requirements. Employers often prioritize a candidate's job competencies to assess and ensure the new recruits can perform their professional responsibilities per the company requirements and assess the company's performance and growth positively. Then you have the technical competencies. Technical competencies are behaviors that have a direct relationship to the type of instruction received and the level of technical expertise required to exercise effective operational control. Technical competencies refer to how knowledge and you can apply abilities to com- complete a particular job or collection of jobs within the company framework successfully. Competency is in a job demands alignment between the operator's capabilities and those required to do the work safely and efficiently. Personal competencies. Personal competencies emphasize performance or output from a job, whereas job role competencies show the variety of inputs required for the task. Personal competencies relate to one's ability to carry out tasks as required by a job function. Though technology continues to develop, personal abilities continue to be the top priority of most companies. For instance, recruiters seek candidates who are more adaptable, open-minded, think critically after considering different perspectives, take on multiple roles, adapt different behaviors to team requirements, manage uncertainties, and can remain motivated even when encountered setbacks. Behavioral competencies. Behavioral competencies refers to the knowledge, abilities, attitudes, and behavior that can help complete tasks effectively, independently, or in collaboration. They are any actions, attitudes, and character attributes that may gauge the candidate's likelihood of succeeding in the position for which they are applying. These competencies may also comprise information, abilities, and the behaviors that can differentiate a candidate from the rest. Management competencies. You may refer to the abilities, routines, professional goals, and approaches required to manage people as a management competency. When you cultivate management competencies, they may improve leadership and aid in corporate performance. Human capital, which is roughly described as the knowledge and abilities that contribute to the work productivity, is a category that includes management competencies. For a workforce that is productive, the human resources required for the management competency are also often essential. Leadership competencies. You can consider a leader as an individual with a versatile skill set to perform their duties effectively. To assume a leadership role, it is important for the employees to possess a few fundamental skills, though. These may be based on five crucial factors, including business savvy, effect and influence, communication abilities, honesty, and conceptual skills. While the first four characteristics are usually fundamental to being a successful leader, business savvy is also a crucial for the same. A leadership position in the company may call for the variety of personality and behavioral qualities. So after looking at basically the skills, then the competency and the type of competency, let us look at what is a learning organization. A learning organization is an entity that fosters the culture of continuous learning and knowledge creation at all levels. An organization that recognizes the importance of adapting to change, acquiring new knowledge, and leveraging insights to improve performance and achieving strategic objectives. So after looking at the basic definitions and fundamentals, let us look at the layout. In this layout, this looks like a layout where in most of the organizations, metrics organizations, large organizations, you have basically the different people of the organization getting trained or being the teaching happens. maybe online, and then they do the study themselves and they get appointed, onboarded into the practices. And as they start developing the individual practices, which are basically skill based, they try to acquire more skills to get into a competency level. Okay. And once these competencies are actually built into a particular resource, they qualify into actually performing for a particular organization. So the customer gives an order to the business unit, and the business unit basically has to implement the program for that particular portfolio. So they may have projects or programs within them. So you have the agile centers of excellence, basically understanding the programs and bringing into effect coaches who can actually understand the requirement of what we need to implement and develop squads who will actually implement the project or a program in the structure. There is a historic data available in the PMO and the PMIS, and you can see that, on the right-hand side, you have the external environment, internal environment, and the system for value delivery considerations, along with operations, kept in mind for vertical scaling of any activity, bringing out outputs and outcomes for the customer. So the main idea of showing you this kind of a diagram is actually to differentiate between what is a practice and what is a center of excellence, or communities of practice, center of excellence. So let us dive into it. So center of practice and center of excellence are actually two organizations, or it is a virtual organizations. They coexist and they are very symbiotic. There is a lot of, when you actually go through the next slide, you will understand basically how basically they coexist, how they are different, and how they actually complement each other in actually generating a learning organization. So the communities of practice is a group of enthusiastic members who want to exchange ideas, share experiences, also through publications in the respective field, who aspire and perform to be practitioners. And Center of Excellence, sometimes called the Center of Excellence C4E, is a group of people with specialized skills and expertise whose job is to provide leadership and purpose is to disseminate that knowledge within the organization. So keeping these definitions of who are the members of the communities of practice and who are the members of the Center of Excellence, let us actually look at the differences. So I have identified about 16 differences from different places, referrals, and some with my experience. So communities of practice is a group of enthusiastic members who want to exchange ideas and share experiences through publications in the respective field. And they want to aspire and perform as practitioners. The Center of Excellence, sometimes called the Center of Excellence C4E, is a group of people with specialized skills and expertise whose job is to provide leadership and purpose, disseminate that knowledge within your organization. So that is how they share the experience. Now let us look at how they look at the proficiency. The members of Center of Practice have a variable proficiency of the skills that they practice. Osmotic knowledge sharing is also prevalent. The members have a variable competency on domain knowledge or hands-on experience. In a center of excellence, the domain practitioners, mentor, and skill leads coach the member on the how to do the things. Three, the capability definitions. The capability definitions of a COP are based on skills, the skills ability, the knowledge, and the skills application and environmental tools. But while you look at the center of excellence, the capability definitions are for the outcomes proposed by the capability area are based on context. So different organizations have different combinations of how they actually create the requirements for a center of excellence. It may be role definitions and indicative factors. It may be an indicative competency. It may be a technical skill-based training competency, or it may be certifications required for getting onto the job, or it may be a role-based training certificate. So depending on that, there is a mix and match of the list of requirements for creating it in a. Now coming to the effectiveness of a COP is established by members who will often share techniques with one another through face-to-face conversations or across maybe a coffee discussions or chatting in discussion forums, practitioners' presentations, such as lunchtime presentation. The CoEs, coaches, will help practitioners to share techniques that they find effective with one another. Helping to build a learning organization is a primary way for CoE coaches to scale their efforts and better yet work out the job. Now looking at capturing the techniques, some COPs will choose to start capturing the techniques and strategies that they learn in their work and share it with one another, typically in an informal manner, using maybe a wiki documentation repository such as a Microsoft SharePoint or a formal backlog. A center of excellence coaches will work with the practitioners to capture viable techniques to build organizational memory around their process and strategies. Supporting knowledge management in the center of practice. The primary mission of the center of practice is to develop the individual and the team learning knowledge and process areas. In a center of excellence, the primary mission for center is to coach to support individual and team training. The practice followed by the center of practice, communities of practice, member aims is to generate new ideas and concepts for practical application, which is skill focus, which can then be used in practice. They are a collection of people who share a craft or a profession, who have banded together to learn from each other, to develop themselves and often even the organization. While the Center of Excellence members are subject matter experts who possess deep knowledge and experience in the specific domain. Center of Excellence members, coaches, will work with one another and with the people they are coaching to identify potential techniques, customer focus, practices, strategies, principles that they can help people to adopt to improve their way they work. Center of Excellence is often purposefully created by an organization with members whose full-time job is to coach, teach, and mentor people. They may be mix of funded investment or partially billable to billable projects where there is a value addition of the work through their efforts. The initiation of a COP is done by a CoE. They need to be aggregated in the business unit as and when the need arises to form the work team. COPs shall support one or more business unit as a shared service or dedicated service, but will be one community of practice. In a CoE organizing COPs, very often COEs will initiate or at least support the initiation of one or more communities of practice to aid the educational efforts in keeping with the requirements of the strategy and needs of the organization. Large organizations may have multiple subdivisions identifying skill areas which can be practiced and improved by sharing knowledge. While in COEs, the program outcome instruments are driven by the CoE for industry and domain areas. The service revenue. When communities of practice members are put to work, then the revenue is effective recognition into the business unit. While in a CoE, the CoE coaches are put to work on the external environment, then the CoE resources add value to the revenue. Revenue recognition can be from being part of a long-lasting enhancement team, operating team, or project teams under the program. While in a CoE, revenue recognition can be from hourly billing as a specialist, expert role, value addition may be the business model for a CoE revenue recognitions. Governing COPs. A COP will often collect and track collection of metrics of self-improvements as a qualitative rating, awards and rewards. While a CoE is about governing improvement, a CoE will often collect and track a collection of metrics to help both govern and justify the organization's investment in the CoE. The structures. Structures of COP tend to be fluid, with the leadership team initially composed of most experienced members who work together to organize and support the overall effort. While a CoE will be formed by identifying people who have the skill, knowledge, the ability to coach, likely train people, and who have the drive to continue learning on their own. People mix. However, you usually want the balance of distribution of experience. A healthy combination of most experienced members and less experienced members are required to enable the chance of new innovative ideas, concepts, and practices. If most of the most experienced then tend to defend the existing practices, ideas, as they likely were the ones that brought them into the organizations. While Center of Excellence will self-organize with the larger COEs as a team lead, often called the CoE lead, will emerge to guide the team. The tenure. The COP members should have a set tenure to allow for continuity and accommodations of interest. Then you can replenish it with the new people ideas annually, semi-annually, quarterly. The COP leader is, if there is one, typically emerges from within, although sometimes that person is assigned at first if the team has been created by a CoE. CoE members should have a set tenure to allow for continuity and accommodations of interest. Then you can replenish it with new people ideas annually or semi-annually or quarterly. The memberships in a COP is voluntary. As a result, members will come and go as they see fit and participate as much as they are willing to or have time to A given individual will be the member of 0 or more COPs. And our advice is to be the member of at least 2 COPs. One of your current focus and one-on-one topic of what you want, hope your next focus will be. The members of multiple COPs work together to manage the business unit work teams. COEs have close relationships and overlapping memberships with 2 other types of teams. That is, the communities of practice, center of excellence, value delivery organization, and work teams. Very often, there will be work teams within your organization whose purpose is to perform the sum or all the work activities for the business unit revenue recognition. So after looking at the differences between the COPs and COEs, we find that COPs and COEs are aligned with enterprise agility. Basically, they foster a learning culture, collaboration, and improvement across the organization. They support the principles of being pragmatic, context sensitive, choice driven, and learning oriented. They also help to create a culture of collaboration, experimentation, and feedback that is essential for disciplined agile. COPs and COEs can work together to complement each other's strength and address each other's challenges. For example, a COE can provide a consistent and coherent vision of disciplined agile across the organization, while a COP can provide a bottom-up or an organic approach to learning and evolving a disciplined agile practice. COPs and COEs support enterprise agility by establishing a common lexicon and standards of agile practice, tools, and metrics, enabling user adoptions and retention of agile methods and mindsets, sharing best practices, experiences, and challenges among agile practitioners and teams, providing coaching, mentoring, training, and certification for agile roles and skills, identifying, capturing, and dissemination improvements and innovations in the agile process and strategies, developing and governing a coherent and consistent vision for agile transformation and scaling. They support agility by leveraging the potential of the data and automation to measure the optimize agile performances and outcomes. They think and plan for the long term and using a disruption to hone strategic thinking. So this is basically the layout of the disciplined agile architect enterprise at a scale. Here you have the different hexagonal images, which is called a process blade. And a process blade encompasses a cohesive part of your overall organizational way of working. Each process blade addresses a specific organizational capability. So, disciplined agile enterprise at scale senses and responds to the changes in the marketplace through an organizational culture structure that facilitates changes within the context of the situations being faced. Organizations need a learning mindset in the mainstream business and underlying lean and agile process to drive the innovation. You have the different layers of disciplined DevOps. Then you have the foundation layer, and you have the value stream layer between the enterprise, DAE, and the DevOps. Now, enterprise level process blades of the DA toolkit and the higher level outputs. You can see there is interactions between the blades and the organizational assets and knowledge base. The idea of this diagram is how each blade produces something that is shared with the rest of the organization. The implication is that each blade also consumes what it needs to do so. So I would suggest if you can open this URL, https colon backslash da browser pmi.org. So this is a extracts of the DA toolkit where if you open the browser, you can actually navigate and explore the different phase. If it is a DAD, you can select the goals, you can identify the decision points, you can select what are the different options available to you. And I have selected those options which are actually related with the COP and CoE alone. So the COPs and CoEs actually support the phases of inception and ongoing. For it also supports the value stream and the enterprise. So it supports all the areas of the enterprise. In the inception phase, from the form team, for the organizational distribution, again, consultants are there who are incorporated or brought in for the COEs to get the things to happen for the organization. So when you actually select the options, you will also get some trade-offs. What are the trade-offs for each and every option in the particular system? So that is available for you on the DA browser. In the value stream, it supports the continuous improvement goals for the communities, and that is done by organizing communities of practice. What do? They capture improvements, they identify improvements, they support one another, they share improvements, right? If you look at the value stream, continuous improvement, the organization center of excellence, what are the options they do? They capture techniques, certify practitioners, govern improvements, they identify techniques, share techniques, organize COPs, support teams, share the techniques. At an enterprise level, for people management to form teams, they form the center of excellence and center of practices. At an enterprise level, for transformation, for governing transformation, you can develop transformation guidance, communities of practice, transformation governance procedures for reporting, shared processes. At the enterprise level, for transformation to guide transformation, you can use support communities of practice, choose transformation operating cadence, support communities of practice. The more details of it you can get when you actually select the options in the browser. You can establish transformation support as well. How do you do that? You can take the create center of excellence, create communities of practice, establish active executive leadership support, establish transformation guidance team, and establish transformation monitoring team. So that brings us to the end of this session. If anybody has not been able to open the DA browser, one minute. Am I able to show you the screen? So for the inception, we need to, for form team, we had, that was our goal. And in the goal, you have various decision points which you can actually select. And as you select, you can actually get the different options. So let us try one of the, say we select the enterprise for the people management. And this is the goal for the people management. And you have the different, say you want to govern transformation. You will get the different options to actually this govern transformation. Looks like there is an update in this version 5.8. So basically, let us look at, so you select the goal, you select the decision points, and once you select the decision points, then you get the different options. So when you select the options, you get a trade-off. These trade-offs are available out here for you in the bottom. Mhm. No. Yes. Mhm. So that is basically how you actually need to navigate. So we have a new disciplined agile certificate training coming up on the 3rd and 4th Feb, and the DAV SC training coming on the 24th, 25th, 3rd and 4th of March. So whoever is desired to join the course, that would be nice. So if you have any questions, I'm available to answer. There has not been any question answers. Anybody would like to know more about any questions on the presentation with respect to communities of practice, communities of center of excellence? Yes, 10 minutes more for question answers. Any questions? Yes, Deepankar. Let me try to unmute you. Yes, you can ask.
Yeah, so nice presentation, Sunil. I wanted to understand who do you think are the key players in a CoE? Whether the architects are the key players, or the program managers, or the portfolio managers, and where do you think the sponsorship should come from?
Uh, Very critical question and very relevant question in the context. A CoE actually comes from a program. The source of a CoE is what you call comes from a program who actually works on a particular industry domain or a line of business or the practices going in there. So the program actually handholds a working team, which is the center of excellence team, and that center of excellence team understands what is required for the program and how the practices should be prepared to into a competency, and which all are the different practices who have to be aligned to create a squad and things like that. So you have specialists. So sometimes maybe you have the center of say ACOE for DevOps. So if the program says there is a lot of DevOps related work, so they can have their own centralized specialist team internally who will all do the initial setup for a jumpstart process for setting up the DevOps setup. And then you will have only the maybe the DevOps engineers who come and work with the squads as and when required for actually doing the real work of the implementation. So that is the way basically a CoE is a working team. It is not something where it is working all the people. It is existing throughout as a long-standing team. It will stand as long as there is a program to support that particular team. Make sense?
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Sunil.
Anybody else? So I can add a little more onto that particular question. If it is who is going to, the domain practitioners are basically who, and the leads, practice leads. There are two sets of people. One is the domain practitioners as well as practice leads who basically become a part of CoE for a line of business for a particular industry. So these two people decide, okay, how many types of skill sets are required, and all the leads of that particular skills are from the various different practices, and the domain practitioner form a team together, and that becomes a center of excellence. And those leads are able to train, coach the people who are actually in the squads to go and actually complete the project successfully. So the team members who are there, they will be real experience, not only on the skills, on the competency and the domain, and they will be able to put all the combinations together and then start implementing the project together. But it is not that they are the core team that goes to implement. The team will be actually the practice teams who actually are the revenue recognition team who actually goes in. And the CoE teams are a part of, will be mentoring, will have an overarching uh, control over this practice, this squads which go out there individually. See, that is where even the coaches come into picture, for every, let it be for any skill, sometimes you feel you need to be coached. Right? You know how to do it, or maybe what is the, like, people study different technologies, say .NET, or they study Java, they come on board, they get trained, they do it yourself, they do some samples. But it is not one, they might take the soft skills, they might take leadership skills, they start developing into competency. But it is not that even if they have a competency, they are able to go and work in an oil and gas domain, or they're going to work in a banking domain or things like that. So the hand-holding of the domain practitioners is a very important thing with the people who are in the practice. And how is that done? It comes through the center of excellence. So that learning process, the experience actually is transferred to the practice from the center of excellence. If there are more queries, please contact on this email, and we are happy to help. So thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the time you have shared with us. All the best.